or liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. It's the 37th week of comics in 2024. It's been a good week. Yeah, probably one of the best weeks. I don't know. I'll say that right now. We'll get into it. I'm Matthew. He's Chris. Chris, how are you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. A lot of good news with Star Wars and other things that are happening in the next month. So there, I'm getting things started. It's looking good. Yeah. It's looking real good.
We're of course talking about a certain little fan convention in a certain little town formerly known as New Harlem or New Amsterdam. We'll get into that at the end. I didn't make a thing for it, but we'll get into that at the end. First off, let's get plugs out of the way. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD, and at Starraptor, STARRAPTER, Twitter, and on YouTube, youtube.com/Starraptor. Mention your recaps of the comics that aren't in yet. You'll get them eventually, but for all of Chris's content, including Outer Rim Transmissions, the link is in the description right down below there. And very quickly we'll pick up the plugs again at the end, but on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube network, we got super chats, we got YouTube memberships. So if you're so inclined to support the channel, please feel free. On super chats, we got the normal chats, the comments in the section below. If it fits with the flow of the conversation, then we'll do our best to bring it in. If you super chat us, if you want to support the channel by super chatting and contributing to it, to the channel and the network, we will bump that comment to the top of the pile and get to it as soon as humanly possible. Lastly, on the Star Wars Underworld Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network, we got the Discord server and lots of fun conversations in there. I keep plugging the Japanese channel, a bunch of channels about Star Wars Celebration. We'll get to a bit of a channel about New York Comic Con. There's a general conventions channel, of course, Star Wars channel, Marvel channel. I hear there's a Marvel show that just dropped like a minute ago, believe it or not, 4 minutes ago. So get in the link in the description down below. Costs nothing to join. All you got to be is a good person, kind person. Don't stir up trouble, and join the party. Share your honest Star Wars or Marvel or whatever opinion, and we'll have it out there. I know Joel and Ben are especially in there quite a bit, and they do game nights. I think they're doing game night on Friday. I forget what game it is. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Overwatch 2. I know they're having a collaboration with World of Warcraft, with Overwatch, World of Warcraft's 20th anniversary. So I already put the bug in their ear, like, yeah, you guys should probably plan an event around this, because I'm selfishly obsessed with WoW. I'm playing it again right now. So I'm like, yeah, you guys should play that.
You know what? You're sharing the love, Chris. You're sharing the love. That's what this is about. So you hear on the Underworld Fandom fam. One more quick shout out to the rest of the network. Of course, on Canon Podcast on Monday, the flagship podcast on tomorrow night, and then of course Hannah on the Ray side. She got to interview Diana Lee Inosanto for about an hour, and so please do check that out. And then definitely the one and only Diana Lee Inosanto. She just straight up interviewing her one-on-one for an hour.
She has all these crazy connections. We got to get some celebrities on this darn podcast already. We already have had one. Wait, we had Ethan Sachs.
We had Ethan Sachs. I got Rodney Barnes and Mark Guggenheim, sort of. And
we have about maybe close to 30 other options coming up in about a month time with, oh my gosh, that exhaustive list I sent you about the artists and Artist Alley, the writers, the creative force in general, writers and artists.
Yes. So New York Comic Con is what we're talking about, but definitely. Definitely check out on the Ray side. Then Outer Rim Transmissions, you guys recording on Sunday?
Fun behind the scenes story. We recorded technically yesterday.
Oh, fun.
I'm gonna be away this weekend, so I just do a pre-recorded premiere on Sunday. So we have it in the can. We're gonna be reviewing. Well, we did review Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Season 1. So fun discussion there. Also, very fun ad hoc discussion shooting off the hip with me and Ben of talking about audio dramas in Star Wars and why there should be an ongoing podcast Star Wars Star Wars story, because I've been listening to Dragon Age, Vows, and Vengeance, and it is a weekly drop of a 45 minute episode, fully voiced, fully produced, high quality. It's like Star Wars needs to get in on this, man. Star Wars needs to get in on this because it's such a wealth of untapped potential for a low cost way of getting more content out to the audiences.
Yeah.
So that was the thing we talked about.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a great idea. I think Marvel does a few of those. It's low cost and low. That's the thing. Disney, Lucasfilm, I think, is a little got the dollar signs. You know, I'm still salty about the Acolyte. So there's that. But yeah, it's definitely a good medium. I haven't gone into those enough, but if there was one that said Star Wars on it, of course, we are going to be reviewing the Tempest Runner. I believe it's called Tempest Runner, right?
I feel like that was something else from before.
Yeah, that was the previous one. Whatever the one that comes out in December, because that is a conclusion to the comic book run. And so we're gonna review it here on the Tractor Beam. Definitely, Kevin Scott knows what he's doing there. So does George Mann. So let's get the plugs for now. Again, we'll pick them up again at the end. But we got 2 books to go through. One we'll do somewhat quickly, and one we'll take a lot more time on because it's longer and more important. Start off with Power Republic Adventures number 10.
No slight to DJO on that. No slight to DJO and team. We're just very excited to talk about a 4-year-old run ending. That's all.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be the first person to understand that. Say that. But yeah, High Republic Adventures number 10, written by Daniel Jose Older, art by Tony Bruno, colors by Michael Attier, cover by the Tolibao team, Harvey and Kevin. Zine, Lula, and their friends come face to face with a familiar nemesis on the streets of Ariadu City. As the Republic and the Jedi try to protect the capital from capture, they must do battle with old enemies. The fate of the planet is on the line as the forces of light and dark vie for its allegiance. Yeah, this one was a fun issue. I'd say I'm a sucker for people staying around talking about politics and religion and philosophy. So it was, I guess, it was Farzala and Farzala and Zine especially, I think, chatting about their options and just the political machinations going on in the Ariadu Assembly Council, High Council thing, within Tarkin family politics as well. Why I guess I forget that uncle, the guy in charge, basically cornering out the character that the Jedi are more connected with, the Tarkin that the Jedi are more connected with. And so just the getting into the meat of that I always enjoy. And then is that conversation is counterbalanced really nicely with this action sequence on the Carrion Spike with that character, with that Tarkin. We knew this was coming. We knew there was going to be, I could predict something to do with an adventure on the Carrion Spike. Of course, the mythos of the Tarkins and everything that James Luceno built up and everything that Charles Soule picked up. It was great to see Daniel Jose Older continue that, especially in the formidable, violent nature of this family, and that they're not always to be trusted. Except here's the twist: this one character, she kind of realizes, they're actually peaceable. These creatures are actually more peaceable, and we don't need to skin them. And that undercuts the other character. I'll look up the
name. Severin, and Severin. The other character's name is the politic uncle.
Yeah.
His name is Tragul, I think.
Tragul, yeah. So, Severin. So we've seen Tragul, we've seen Wilf 100 years later. 130 years later, take the more violent route. Yeah, Severin. Yeah, this twist. She brings the creature into the hall, undercuts Traggle's whole claim, and so yeah, it was a nice change, a nice twist. Except that there's a third twist, and this is a second twist. We don't know what Severin's real goal here is, what her ambition is. Was she just using the Jedi to get back onto the council, to get back into power? Is she actually going to, this last shot leaves a lot of questions. Is she actually going to be getting in bed with the Nihil too? Because that's the big question. That was the big policy debate. Was Trackle was all, what can we do? The Nihil are going to come. He's kind of maybe using that rhetoric of we're helpless or defenseless. They're going to come and destroy us, to say, well, maybe I want to take a cut and get a cut. Or maybe he's honest. I don't know. That's another question. He's honestly feels desperate in the situation. And so, yeah, it was, again, a bit of a surprising twist at the end that Severin is also just playing politics potentially. And the way Tony Bruno and Michael Attier draw that panel, especially at the end where she's the one who kicks the Jedi out and says, "Tarkin family business, get out." It kind of reminded me a little bit of Mace Windu to Ahsoka, as like, this is Jedi business, citizen, but even more surprising because that's what we know from Mace Windu. What we've known from Severin is she's been so kindly to the Jedi, and here she's kind of kicking them out. So we'll find out in probably issue number 10 what she's all on about. But is she gonna just get in with the Nihil and their blockade of what's that other city called?
Brai Fang? Bri Fang? Bri Fang.
Is she going to be trying to gain? I mean, they're behind the storm wall at this point. So, yeah, really, for an all ages comic, a lot of good political meat that I'm enjoying, and so it was a fun book to read, and it held its own. Obviously, the much more important book. We'll get into it in a few minutes, but what did you think of High Republic Adventures number 10?
Yeah, first off, I want to shout out Gustavo Gabi. Yeah. They're tuning in all the way from Brazil. So awesome. It's cool to have fans across the world or viewers from across the world. So good stuff. Yeah, hold on tight because we're going to get into Darth Vader very, very shortly here because we have a lot to say about that, obviously. But as far as issue, I really enjoyed this issue. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, I think it's worth noting this issue is not really based around the Jedi, Zine, Moralo, the crew that we know. This really fleshes out the character of Severin Tarkin. And Severin Tarkin is a character that I think was introduced like maybe 3 issues ago. I think she might have been on that prison ship as like a side character in the background. But anyway, this is great because I got an audible reaction reading the Carrion Spike on the top of the page. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I wrote it down immediately. Like, this is a reference to the Tarkin novel of James Luceno. And it's so cool because I remember about these Virma creatures and I think we've seen them before, but still we haven't seen them displayed quite like this. The idea that these people are, the Tarkins are the head of this system, essentially, of this ruling body. But as we know from the Tarkin novel, they still have these ceremonial rites of passage that revolve around, survival. And they, even though they're technical people, they still deal with like the survival aspect, which is really neat. Mm-hmm. So to see a female character go in there, kick butt, but not actually do what is expected of her. Yeah. And then actually basically frames this, corrupted guy, this uncle that is just putting up a front. Like, it was so great to see her put him in his place. He was so scared, so terrified, and he just gave up all the power right there and then. Like, oh my goodness, that was great. But yeah, so it was a good issue in that we learned this is the title. I mean, just the title alone is the Tarkin Family Business Part 2. We are not really dealing with a lot of the Nihil right now. It's more of like, hey, the politics of the Nile, yes, the Nile are actually, propagating and the catalyst for these political movements of what happens, what is the lasting effects of the Nile on everything around them. Yeah, there was the family structure, and that was a really cool moment too, because I was really sold on this character, like especially the last couple issues. Like she was so buddy with Lula and with Zine Morales and the rest of the crew, that it came to me as a bit of a shock of like, oh my gosh, like. But it doesn't come right out as like, oh yeah, we're gonna team with the Nile. Like you see that last page you showed there of her brother and her grandmother, like this unified force of okay, like. They use the Jedi to a certain means, but they're getting their wants. Now let's see if that's going to be with the Nile or not. But yeah, from a political standpoint, I think DJO is doing a great job of just showing the power structure of a different system, showing what happens, cost and effect of when invasion force and gets in there and gunks up the political hierarchy and that to me is very interesting. I like that. It adds a lot more depth. Again, I don't ever really think that I'm reading a book for all ages. I really feel like this is a lot more sophisticated for the 7-year-old.
Yeah.
I don't know if the 7-year-old would really grasp what is actually happening now that I'm speaking these words, to be quite honest with you. But I'm okay with that because I'm enjoying it.
I mean, it's similar. You could say a similar thing to Beware the Nameless, right? There's a lot of scary, complex things happening in that book. So, that's the thing. High Republic, it's never written down to anyone. Maybe on some occasions early on it has, but this book especially. On that note, one of the themes in this book is about age. Because Krevlin, who's the older woman, Krevlin Tarkin. She's kind of this neutral stateswoman. She's more willing to help the Jedi go find Severin. She's more willing to help Severin in the council. And then you have Truckle, who is he kind of nefarious or is he just realistic? Is the realist, right? And the experienced politician trying to navigate different tensions and. We think he's misguided. We know he's misguided in throwing his lot in with the Nile, but that it raises an interesting question, and that's part of this whole tension. We get some of his motivations in that conversation. Well, yeah, we think the fact that he the fact that he faked his own story, a la Charlie Afra, but to rise to prominence. Yeah, that kind of going back when he was probably younger. That tells you a bit about his character. But yeah, you have Severin's brother. I forget his name here. I did read this last night, so
I don't know his name off the top of my head
when I was able to get it booked. But I read it a few hours ago. But when he's so kind of young and seems naive and idealistic. He's just unrealistic voice. There's a counterbalance to Truckle a little bit. Severin, we think maybe is the moderate voice of moderation here. Maybe she is willing to work with the Jedi and figure out what's best for her people. That's always this tension, right? Best for her Tarkin family, best for the people of Ariadu. That's always a tension we see in Star Wars a lot. Is kind of a great statesperson, kind of like Cham Syndulla in a little bit, right? A great statesperson who really does what's best for, has what's best in mind for their people, but the connection with the wider galaxy that might come at a cost of helping out the wider galaxy or not. I mean, that's something the Rebellion and the New Republic have to sort out a lot, especially the New Republic. Here, it's the High Republic trying to gather. I mean, we are all the Republic, and Lena So trying to give this sense of the Republic is actually here to be what's best for each and every planet. The Nile have come to question that and challenge that, and with the Stormwall prevent that from being the case. And so, yeah, very curious leaving this on this cliffhanger question of what, now that Severin's really in charge, what is she going to do? And is she going to actually, now that, and also free of Jedi influence, what is she going to do? And again, and also later, lastly, the question: how does this connect with the wider story? Ariado, I think, is to be a pretty important planet. It was a base, an RDC base. Willa, for is a good reason why he becomes so prominent is because Ariado is a pretty central planet, pretty important planet in the late Republic, and so, it raises all these interesting things, and how does this fit in with the ultimate end of the High Republic as well? So, great job again. Like you said, this isn't specifically about the Jedi and the Nihil, but it's moving this piece forward in the Tarkin family role and the Ariado High Council role in whatever is happening on this planet. And so, where does the balance lie? And that's the thing, these civilians trying to figure that out.
That's the great thing about the High Republic, is because there's so much content out there.
Yeah.
There is room to explore things as subtle as this, where it's like, in a movie or even a TV series, you're not going to really have the time to dive into something that might be thought of as trivial like this. Like, I don't know if this is actually going to really affect anything in a long game with like the novel, of like the Trial of the Jedi. Will this come in? I don't know. But at least we get to see these nuanced side of things, which I really appreciate.
Last thing I'll say before we move on, because we got to move on, but here's the cover for issue number 11. It's a certain Ram Dramaram.
Did you finish the novel?
No, I haven't finished the novel yet. So I need to
Okay.
finish the novel before this comes out, right?
I would imagine so.
Yeah. Certain Ram Jamaram and certain Markian Rowe. Got a fellow named Markian, a little mask there. Yeah, he's right here.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I did not pick that up on the first glance. Okay.
So, which he hasn't really featured in this book at all. So
no, he was in the one shot that came out.
Yeah,
Briefly with Crick's camera.
Yeah, anything with Crick's, yes. But there. One last thing, also, I guess crashes on Ariado with everybody. I didn't know how she got there, but
no, because that left off with no. They showed her. Actually, I really enjoyed that subtle transition because she was talking about, these are the supplies that we were going to take somewhere else, and we redirected them to Briefang, and she basically smuggled them the supplies underneath the blockade.
Oh, okay.
So that was cool because it was that issue that was in literally came out like a week or two ago. Right. So it was neat seeing like how that literally just tied up so nice.
Now I remember that there end up on Ariado as well. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I just read the insider short where they're still back on Corellia.
Yeah, it's a lot of sync.
Jeremy Baramy, Timely Wembley. Fair enough. Any last thoughts on High Republic Adventures number 10?
Yeah, this book always impresses. I'll say it again. I'm a broken record, but I always enjoy this one, and we're getting closer to where it's eventually going to overtake the. Wait, did the regular High Republic, did that have 10 or 12 issues?
That had 10. That one's done.
Oh my goodness! So we're basically about to eclipse the Marvel series with this number of issues, which is interesting to think about.
Again, I suspect, speaking of the audio drama, I suspect Calvin Scott's plans for issues 10, 11, and 12 were folded into the audio drama. But anyway, that would do it. All right, let's do this. Let's move on. Darth Vader number 15. You'll notice this isn't the full list of folks because there's two. Written by Greg Pak. So here's the thing. So here's the art and colors duo. So chapter 1 is Raphael Yanko and Federico Blee. Chapter 2 is Paul Fry and Frank William. Chapter 3 is Luke Ross and Alex Sinclair. In chapter 4 is Adam Gorham and Guru EFX. So kind of the different teams that had been contributing to this run. I think maybe also the ongoing run a little bit. Could be wrong with that, but anyways, I'll just put this back up here. Of course, covered by Lindell Francis Yu and Romulo Fajardo Jr. as usual. The longest running Darth Vader comic series ever reaches its stunning conclusion as the dark heart of the Sith comes full circle. Darth Vader finally unleashes the unfathomable power he has accumulated through the Schism Imperial against the only person in the galaxy he hates more than he hates himself, Emperor Palpatine. Also featuring the final twists in the saga for key characters like Luke, Leia, Sabe, Ochi, Zed, Sly Moore, the members of the Schism Imperial, and more. I will jump this straight to you. Take it away, Darth Vader number 50.
All right. First of all, I loved like opening the book and realizing, oh my gosh, there's like 4 parts. This is so neat. And then I had no idea there was going to be that many different artists involved. So that to me was like, whoa, this is awesome. This is a great surprise. Mm-hmm. From start to finish, this was a riveting story. Yeah. No slight to Charles Soule, but this is kind of like what I sort of wanted from Star Wars number 50. Then we realized after the fact that 49 was technically his end, which was a great end anyway. But if you're talking about a grand finale, this is it. This is hearkening back to dozens of issues into the past, bringing that to the forefront. Heck, Greg Pak does a great job. He references things like Fear and Dead Men from the Vader Down comic series that's taken place in a whole nother time of Star Wars. Yeah. So like really clever writing. We have some great lines of dialogue that evoke the attack of the clones, killing these stormtroopers and these Suma Verminoths, and Vader getting all, there's so many comic book moments like that you just can only experience in a comic book. Like Vader just vaporizing literally legions of stormtroopers with power that's injected into his veins. Like it is such a comic booky thing. But when it comes to the Vader comics, like that's the way they are a lot of the time. So I like how Greg Pak sort of leaned into that, but then dealing with other characters that he's bouncing different things off of, like such as Luke, such as Sabe, such as Leia, all these characters. Even Ochi gets a lot of time in this issue, which was really cool. Yeah. And the relationship with Vader and seeing how we see Vader at the very end, like coming into that character, Anakin Skywalker is dead. Like that was one hell of a way to end this. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Great opening salvo there. If I could change the title of this episode after reading it, I would call it the son and daughter of Padme. Those two moments really hit home the most. For a Darth Vader comic, but I mean it makes sense that it's the Sabe to Luke and the Sabe to Leia, because it's something we just don't have that kind of interaction. Well, we don't have an interaction between Padme and Luke or Padme and Leia. This is the closest thing we'll ever get. And for Sabe to say to Luke, here someone, I remind Vader of someone who will be proud of you, is the closest he'll ever get to his mother saying he's proud of him. And then of course the moment with Leia, with that Sabe tempts her with power, right? Tempts her with this, the kind of the thing that Anakin would say in Attack of the Clones. We should just have a system where we can just everyone be told what to do because they don't know what's right. Which is, why would I want that? Why do I want that kind of power? And that was the test for Sabe to say, yeah, she's perfect. Kind of almost hearing the way Padme says about Anakin in episode 1 about the pod racer, right? It's perfect. Those really, the light heart of the Jedi, dark heart of the Sith, light heart of the Jedi, because of course, as I keep saying, the key to Anakin returning, the key to Vader remembering Anakin's existence, is the son of Padme suffering on the Death Star. And you said it's great really great moment to end it with, that Ochi doesn't even need to go back and to Naboo and is it Naboo? Yeah, they're on Naboo, or no, Tatooine, and gonna take out all of Anakin's friends because Anakin's dead. I killed him, so he believes, and so that was really chilling moment. Except that again, this whole issue was how wrong that statement is, how Anakin continues to persist in the lives of people who love him and remember him, and again in his very biological offspring, right? If he's recognizing Luke as his son, Luke is the son of no one else than Anakin Skywalker, and this one, and Leia, and of course of Padme, and this one really shows, it shows yes Anakin's legacy, but it shows Padme's legacy again, as I was saying. So, it was a great, Attack of the Clones at whatever 21 party, Attack of the Phantom Menace or 22 party, Phantom Menace at 25 party at the end.
Yeah,
but not in a gratuitous way, not in a
no,
we're just getting together to chill, in a way that references, even if the art references, those 90s comics, 2000s comics, references the kind of the Phantom Menace one shot that we got, that I think is going to actually be collected in with this one.
It will be, yeah.
Which is telling, but really celebrates and reminds us that, in Return of the Jedi, Anakin really comes full circle, and that was beautiful. And so the full circle again is within, there's this sort of concentric structure to this, right? Anakin coming full circle in Return of the Jedi. Vader remembering the moment. I mean, I count I killed them, the women and the children too. I count that as the birth of Darth Vader right there, right in this film that I'm wearing the t-shirt. And interestingly enough, it's the second comic to quote this. It was the annual in I think I read this sort of maybe a year or so ago. It was one of the first annuals in 2015, I think, by Kieran Gillen, and he's on the one who goes to Geonosis, and takes out the queen that killed them, not just the men but the women and children too. Yeah, there's touch points back into Anakin's story, touch points back into Vader's story, reminding us, bringing us to this moment where it all comes to a head on the Death Star. And so Greg Pak really doing such a great job of carrying all that all the way through. It really brings home why Sabe's in this story, why Luke and Leia are in this story. Like I've been saying, like I think Joel and I were saying on Monday, the ongoing run is kind of written. Joel has this theory. The ongoing run is written around Return of the Jedi, setting things up further. Of course, the finale. Let's go get Han. Yeah, that's there. This Darth Vader run is written into Return of the Jedi, really in the story, in the character moment, in the climax of it, and that this galactic climax that affects the whole galaxy, with the rebellion and the Empire and the death of Palpatine. I mean, there's more I could say, but I don't know if you have any further to respond to this. To that.
Yeah, I think that is a good assessment about one purpose of the other series, the difference between the series. I mean, I guess the best way to tackle this would be just to go by each chapter and talk about highlights, what we liked about them. Yeah. Maybe you can help me understand what the heck was happening in Chapter 1 Destroyer with Palpatine, because Palpatine was in his head at some point because he tried to vaporize Palpatine. He turned to dust, and then Palpatine was there with his hands on his head. Like, were you able to understand that? Maybe I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening there. I
think just weird gobbly force visions going on here.
Was Palpatine actually there, or was he like doing like a Luke Skywalker like force projection?
Probably some sort of projection, yeah.
But then if you look at Chapter 4, from the perspective of the other people, you see that they are actively fighting Like Vader's got the staff, he's firing it back at Palpatine, who's got like the Force lightning blocking. So that's like the only issue I really have with the issue is just those moments where I'm like, okay, I wish there was a little bit more like concreteness going on here. At one point I was like, oh, is he looking at Sabe like she is Palpatine? Like, because there's the one image where it's like their faces are side by side and you don't ever see them in the same frame. So I thought maybe, oh, that's her, but he's seeing her as him.
Yeah.
There's like that thing of the devil and the angel on each shoulder, and she's telling one thing and the Emperor's telling him another thing. So that was interesting. If you go by the speech bubbles, though, I think it is a vision, because you look at the speech bubbles of the Emperor and there is no like directional arrow to anything. It is straight up just like the bubble in his head. So Palpatine is in his head and he's visually appearing to him through the Force, and that is how he's destroying them. But then, like, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it is a little bit vague and confusing. I mean, the reason I didn't really think about it is because I was so focused on the character story, and how, that first, and it is really, again, really great structural choice by Greg Pak to say, okay, chapter 1 is going to be the end of the Schism Imperial arc, right? It ends with Vader kneeling to Palpatine, saying, "Yes, Master." Very much, very much clear callback to Revenge of the Sith, in the office. But also, I noticed he's just a little visual cue of the lights behind him with the planet killing machine. Those things flying up behind him, kind of made me think. It kind of looked like that platform where he's on the bed in Revenge of the Sith, like that makes the Imperial symbol.
Oh,
it's a different design, different pattern, but that's really, again, that's a moment where Anakin is resisting, and then comes to this moment of submission, right? Here's you must stand trial. It's not the Jedi way. And then screw the Jedi way. I'm joining the Sith. To save Padme. Here, it's this is the other thing I was thinking. So focused on is, the object of Vader's hate and angst and suffering. Really building up the Sith tradition, if you will, of you hate your master, and that hatred fuels your power, fuels your thirst for greater domination, and again, bringing back this question of is Anakin really dead? Because it quotes I hate you from Revenge of the Sith to Obi-Wan, but he turns it on himself and saying hate me. That is, to my mind, also a pull back to the light and saying, I don't want to be this way. We'll see that with Luke. It's too late for me, son. Kind of this resigned sense that we get for a little bit in this issue where he's just silent. And I know she has to pull it out of him. So, to answer your question, I don't know if it necessarily matters all that much. Just because, I mean, it probably is a vision. It probably is, like Joel's saying, you're in your dark side.
Something to that degree. Yeah.
But
because you see him sitting in a throne at one point.
Yeah.
And then he's there. But then no, maybe that isn't the case, because he's talking to somebody and he said something about, I was able to track, if it wasn't for so-and-so, I wouldn't have been able to track Vader or something like that, where Vader was. Yeah. And it was it
was Pride.
The chapter 2. Oh, it was Pride. That's what it was.
Yeah. Which is also a nice fun moment where we understand what he meant in Rise of Skywalker, where I served you in the Old War. Wait, and because for a long time we were like, did you? Were you were part of the first thing we see? You're in the schism against them. No, you're all. I mean, that's the thing. All this is a test for Pop.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. part of me thinks like this story already has been done in the first couple arcs of the Vader, because the same sort of lessons told by Emperor again. Vader is given all this power and he's able to use it, and then the Emperor comes in and is like, yeah, you don't have any power compared to me. That's basically kind of what happened with Exegol. Like Vader got to see the all of the Emperor with having the power that is that giant Kyber mountain, and he's like, yeah, I can't do anything. I'm subservient to you again. And that's kind of a retread of the same story. It's sort of a negative for me. It's like, okay, like we sort of seen this already in a way.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, I see what you're saying. I don't mind it, first of all, because it was 4 years ago, so I don't entirely remember. But also, I mean, that's the thing is the whole master apprentice dynamic is this endless cycle of holding power and craving power. And so for it to come back at the end, that came back at the beginning. I mean, it was the whole Schism Imperial arc is about this, is about Vader trying to, and the Schism Imperial arc, and we know everything with Luke. I mean, that comes back to this moment, and just after A New Hope, trying to overthrow the Emperor, or and of course we got that moment with Leia as well, which is beautiful. But yeah, I do get what you're saying. I think the difference here is the resignation, the hate me part. That is new. That is the crack in the armor, the crack in the mask, which we have another crack in the mask here. And so, yeah, I'm focusing on what's similar, what is different. Again, I'm obviously reading all this in light of what has to happen in Return of the Jedi, but it could be kind of repetitive potentially. I don't know. See how other people respond. But there you
go. Oh yeah.
One of the things I'll bring up here is I was surprised by the tone of this book. I don't know how you felt about it, and it's not a negative thing. I'm just saying I was surprised. I thought it would be a lot darker. I thought it would be a lot.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought
it was dark enough. Okay.
I actually found it incredibly light. Incredibly.
Yeah, because nobody actually died. You're right. Nobody actually died. There was no death of Sabe, no death of the Markor, no death of Sly Moore. You're right. When you think about it, it's like not much had really changed. Even like the minor characters, like the Fabian guy that Luke was like, oh yeah, you're going to have a chance with the rebellion. And then, these other people, the Corley Q guy, he gets like force pushed or whatever up against the railing. I think he'll be all right.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you put it that way, I'm surprised there was not a higher body count for like named characters. Obviously, a lot of stormtroopers are killed, but
I mean, Luke kills a lot of stormtroopers on the Death Star, so there's that. But even, I was kind of expecting a lot more. Well, here's the thing: I was expecting a lot more like the end of the Gillen run, like the end of the Soul run. Just really brooding, introspective moments. We have a little bit of that, right? With the "I hate you, hate me" quotes again of quotes from Attack of the Clones. But yeah, by and large, Vader pulls his punches here. He really, like he again, so says to Ochi, there's no point going back to Tatooine to killing Kitster and Wald and them. This is a great moment of light in this story. Kitster and Wald are able to free all these slaves who were these kids, Anakin's friends growing up. And then, of course, again, everything with Sabe and Luke, and then Sabe and Leia. We finally see really what Sabe is on about entirely is to preserve the legacy of Padme, preserve the legacy of Anakin as these heroes of the light. And it was. So here's the thing: I was surprised, but I'm glad for it. I'm glad that it was a much lighter tone, in part because that would have been a retread, right? You have it once in the Gillen run, and you have it even more so in the Soul run. Okay, we've gotten it already. Now again, we have it. He thinks he has this in this last thing with Ochi. Anakin Skywalker is dead, but yeah, all this whole book is really saying, no, hold on a minute. He's coming back. He hasn't gone anywhere. You've just buried him and forgotten him. But there's so many people, Sabe who remembers him, Luke and Leia who carry on his legacy and Padme's legacy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Joel. So Sly Moore does live.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the points I want to make. Is this book and the Star Wars mainline, they do leave room. Like none of these stories are taking you to like literally Jabba's palace, like at the footsteps. You're not going into the Imperial shuttle on your way to the Death Star 2. Death Star 2 isn't even mentioned.
No.
I mark my words. I think we're going to see, maybe not this year, maybe not, obviously not this year, maybe not in the next couple of years, but I think we'll see like a mini series of certain events that are going to even get closer to Return of the Jedi. Like maybe we'll see something with Sly Moore, for instance, with the Death Star 2. Maybe we'll see, Luke making the green lightsaber. Maybe we'll see something with Bothans. Maybe we'll see something with the Battle of Tanab. Like I think all these are going to be miniseries eventually told. But as far as ongoings, there's not going to be doing any more ongoings, I would imagine, anymore with how epic these ended. But I mean, Sly Moore, like you think about, I automatically think about the Masameda and how he played such a big role in Aftermath. It's like, oh, that is kind of strange. So why where the heck she would be? But yeah, they can retroactively talk about that stuff in the Battle of Jakku comics, which are coming out in literally 2 weeks. So
it does. Again, it's an interesting choice to keep all these characters alive. Yeah, Sly Moore. I mean, she could be off in the unknown regions, starting the First Order. We don't know what happens to all those folks.
Even Tantaza survived.
Yeah, Tantaza. Maybe Sly Moore went to Exegol. I mean, even to see her rehabilitated and saying, yeah, this is part of Palpatine's plan all along.
Yep.
There's a reason General Pride is seated in there, both just to show how this grizzled older character and started off this kind of goofy bumbling guy who is supposedly worshiping Vader, but again, had a sense, at least if not explicitly, as part of Palpatine testing Vader and pushing him to see is he actually going to be as brutal as he needs to be. Maybe, I mean, part of Palpatine probably wants Vader to play the Sith game, right? To be the one to crave power that ends up serving Palpatine's need for him to be the pit bull and to go build his power base for the Empire. It's just that in the cyclical nature of it, whenever Vader thinks he's gotten high enough, is Palpatine, I'm the only one prepared. Again, until he's not, until he's zapping Luke and doesn't even think Vader is going to do anything, and along comes Anakin. So that's another thing to see go all Sith, too much Jedi. I mean, maybe even just to expose it, to say, you pulled your punches. As there conflict, he detects the fleet, or detects Luke on Endor, and wants to go and confront him. There's it's he sees his subtext. There's pretext is so we can turn to the dark side, but there is the tug towards the light. And again, Greg Pak really underwriting this, showing it to us in meaningful ways. So all that to say, I'm good with the fact that this one stopped short of what happens in Return of the Jedi. The ongoing run effectively does. You're right. It doesn't literally bring us to it, but it's
yellow lightsaber. Well, what does he have that still? Where is that going?
But I mean, so like saying the ongoing, it's the let's go get Han. That's effectively bringing us to the edge. Vader. It's true. It doesn't really. I mean, all that to say, the Empire in the first act of Return of the Jedi, they're just still building the Death Star. They're still building things up. It's only until a little later where we reveal that the true might of the Death Star and the battle station fully operational. But it is true, we haven't gotten those stories that we kind of thought we would.
The Bothans. We'll never get the darn Bothan story now. So, darn it.
I mean, again, we like you're saying, we will eventually.
We'll get miniseries, I'm sure.
But because this book really dove into the character so well and so focused, I'm good with it. I think my one knock actually is that it felt a little fast. Like these snippets, it felt like a Lord of the Rings kind of ending. Or like, okay, we got this little short bit here and done. This little short bit here and done. I would have liked maybe a little more time, just a little beat to say, when Sabe is going to the planet that Leia's on, give us a page, give us a panel, just to let it breathe a little more. Again, they wanted to keep the page limit down, but other than that, I don't have anything negative to say about this book. Do you have any further thoughts? We have a good question below, but
we'll pick up the question. Yeah,
sure. You're talking about Ochi. In this book, good to see him come back, and then if he will have a role in future stories. What do you think of Ochi in this book?
Yeah, I thought it was good to see him again, still retaining that really kind of funny vibe to him, but I really think the blow that Vader gives to him, and now this is a good transition because as we're talking about these chapters one by one, we're now talking about the chapter that is called In Service of the Emperor.
I should say, I forgot we were talking about the chapters. I was just going all over the place, but go ahead.
Yeah, we suck for the most part. Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at another comment that just came in below. Okay, comments are flying in. People are really excited to hear our thoughts on this. This is really cool. We do this every week, guys, so you can always join us every week, Wednesdays at 9. But yes, as far as Ochi, I thought I liked where his character was, like being so on top of it, like making fun of Sly Moore, like, aha, you're gonna get executed, and she's like, actually, no, I'm not. He's like, wait, what? So I love like that the kooky reactions that he has, and then she gives him a mission and he's put in his place by her. And then poor old Ochi, like I think we basically see him become the character we see in Shadow of the Sith. Like he is not a laughing stock anymore because his body is literally crippled by Vader. He's able to be the thing that teaches Vader about hate again. Vader was really subservient to the Emperor in his couple of moments, however long a time that passed. And Sly Moore's like, oh yeah, he's back. He even though he's not talking, he's full of hate, and that guy I hated, well, he's crippled now, and his helmet is gone, and that's how we see the Ochi that we see in Rise of Skywalker. So
again, another good reminder of the earlier parts of this run, but also the role of needling Vader, of kind of provoking him, and then of course paying the price, but being in the line of fire. I think this is the first time in a while we see the lightsaber. Right, for a while he has this staff with the crystal, and he has that shield. Which is, to me, they're bigger. To me, those are signs of overcompensation. Those are signs of Vader not having in full command of the Force and of his faculties, and then the lightsaber, the elegant weapon of the more civilized age, right? It's such a refined, focused weapon. That is so the red one is so iconic with Vader. With Vader, it isn't so much refined and focused. No, it is. Just thinking about this now, Vader's use of that lightsaber is always so intentional and direct. Even thinking in Rogue One, very systematic how it goes through. Whereas that staff and that shield are just blowing things up, and that planet destroying thing, blowing things up. No, Ochi brings the saber out and gets Vader to bring the saber out, and It gets him to, and again at the end, I'm jumping to that last chapter, gets him to clamp down and say, no, I'm gonna hold on to this idea that I am Vader and not Anakin for the time being, because this is what I need to do. So yeah, great question. Again, great insertion of this character in this run and in this book.
Yeah, as far as his actual question about the Maxi series, I think a lot of these characters are game to be in that. Wouldn't be surprised if we see Sabe or any of the prior affiliated the Imperial Schism showing up in that, because we don't know their fates, and this is like literally Battle of Jakku is probably like a month after this. We don't know exactly the timeline, but it is the closest thing you can to whatever happens here. Well, no, because like if you, all right, solicit show that there's the Battle of Entar aftermath in the first page. So this is like literally like
so you mean the comic book, when the comic book takes place?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you meant the actual battle in the time.
Oh no, yeah, I hear. Yeah, I would love to see him in there. I think that would be cool if Adam Christopher and Greg Pak and oh my gosh, what's the writer of the Battle of Jakku? If they all share notes of Ochi and be like, oh yeah, this is what he would be doing. Maybe he's like doing something with the Acolytes of the Beyond. That
wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe he's doing something on Mustafar. And I seen Vader on Mustafar. We're jumping out of the chapters I proposed that we would talk about within order, but Ochi knows. Ochi's been to Mustafar. He knows Vader's castle. Is Ochi gonna just try to sit on the throne of Vader now that Vader's gone? I could see Ochi doing that.
It'd be a very oh my gosh, I'm blanking on Major Domo. What's his face?
Oh yeah, Bib Fortuna. Yeah,
Fortuna move. Maybe I think in Kevin Scott's like the Ghosts of Vader's Castle or something. There's other, like Vanne's there too. I don't know. We'll see. That'll be interesting. I can see Exegol, or I can see Acolytes of the Beyond.
Acolytes of the Beyond, yeah.
Especially because he's got to link up with the Sith Eternal again eventually, right? He got to be part of the Sith Eternal. Yeah, to start telling that story, to start moving that forward. I think that would be helpful. Again, he now has the fortitude to do it. We can see him having the fortitude to be this assassin that ends up killing Palpatine's clone and his former Jedi Force sensitive wife, and threatening his daughter, their daughter. The daughter's name is Rey, by the way. To bridge those trilogies, that would be something. I mean, he is a character that bridges those trilogies, just like Pride. So yeah, I can see that for sure. There we go. Palpatine did mid-fight.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who's been scratching my head about this. Yes, Force user. I tried to pick Matthew's brain, and you could rewind the show. We addressed this for a good 5 minutes. I'm still confused. I think it's just a Force vision of Palpatine. You don't see an arrow to any direction of Palpatine, so I think it's just his visage through the Force, a message in Vader's mind.
Yeah. And I think what I'll say is I think it doesn't matter as much. Like the more important thing is, it's a vision. The more important thing is the way it brings out Vader's hate and directs it and hate to Palpatine and to himself, and that's a source of power and a source of weakness. And again, also, the vote Vader at that moment of submission that we thought he'd come to. So that. I think that's all I have for now. I don't know if you have any further thoughts. How do you feel overall about how this comic comes together?
I'm shocked, man. You didn't talk about Leia. We gotta dive into the whole Leia thing, man. I mean, come on here.
We can say more about Leia. Sure, I talked about Leia.
This was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, All right, I'll lead the charge on this because I mean we're now going to revert to chapter 3, which is called "There Is Another," and it's all about Sabe meeting with Leia Organa, and Leia. You know, it's this really cool moment where Leia is basically like, Sabe knows that Vader is her daughter, but she's not going to admit that to her right now, and this idea that like Sabe is, and maybe I'm interpreting it different than you did because there's a lot of reading between the lines, different things I feel like in this whole chapter here of like, what is Sabe getting at? What is she trying to do? Is she really trying to get Leia to join Darth Vader? Yes, you put up the image, which is just that you're going to see that on the internet for years and years and years. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, good for that because it's such a cool image of Leia with like this Imperial armor, but she's a bride and she's going to be the Empress of the Empire. That was a little bit creepy to me. I want to pick your brain on that a little bit, Matthew, because like she knows that Vader is her father. Like, she's seriously insinuating that they would get married. No, like, what is happening here?
I think it was just like Empress Organa, like Princess Leia.
Okay.
The daughter of Bail.
Okay.
Empress Organa, the daughter of Vader.
Gotcha.
It's the closest thing we got to Lady Vader, in a way. I mean, not quite in the same way, but from Heir to the Empire.
But it was so neat to me. It was such a sweet kind of conversation because towards the end of this chapter, Leia was like, yeah, would I ever do all these things that you're expecting? And you see this really cool what if story of what if Sabe was in the Battle of Endor with this really cool, I want a comic book action figure of Sabe with that gear, like the open face stormtrooper helmet, and she's a commander and she's shooting Leia and you see Chewie running through the woods, but it was like this alternate reality that Sabe had in her head of like, oh, I'm not strong enough to do this, but maybe I can convert Leia to be this way. Leia has the option of giving in and being a part of the Empire because I was a part of the Empire. And then there's this whole pushback of, the way I was brought up and all, I would never do this. I'd fight for freedom, And it just is this one moment at the end, one of the last panels of Sabe coming to grips with, she's perfect. Like the way she is so headstrong and set in her ways about fighting tyranny. It's like, she's fine on her own, because I think the whole reason why Sabe went there in the first place is like, oh my gosh, like Vader might find her one day. I have to make sure she's okay. Yeah. And she finds out that, she is perfectly independent, perfectly strong enough to resist against Vader if she comes into contact with him. Like, she's fine on her own. She is perfect. And that's what I gathered from that last page. I don't know if you might have thought of the same thing as well.
I mean, similar. I'll say this about Sabe. This whole run is, I was kind of along for the ride. I never knew where she was going. I think at some point I was a little like, again, like maybe, I don't know, forget how many issues in. I was like, okay, what's the real aim here? And even so in this, it was okay. I was just gripped in this story. Okay, she's presenting Leia this option of taking power. The version that Luke gets in Empire Strikes Back, join me and we'll rule the galaxy as father and son. Effectively, join me and we'll rule the galaxy as father and daughter. And maybe, revealing the truth there, then and there. It really, so let's just say that I was just going along for the ride, and then finally we actually get the point at the very end is, Palpatine is trying to test Vader to see how ruthless he is. I think Sabe was also trying to test Luke to see how ruthless he could be, and he's just very clearly, we just got to get out of here. Don't worry about it. Maybe they're still good at him. I don't know. Leia testing, is she going to be that angst-ridden teenager that Anakin was? because a lot of folks out of universe, say, yeah, she's the impulsive, hot-headed, commandeering ruler that we see her birth father be.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also had instilled in her, oh yeah, my father Bail. Yeah, these values of respect and common good and people being free to rule themselves, right? Very much wanting to restore a sense of genuine democratic social norms, democratic political norms and institutions, and going to resist the logic of the empire. It says, yeah, like what Anakin says, and again, in Attack of the Clones, we just need a system where people are told what to do because they don't know what to do themselves. And Padme thinks he's joking, and then there's that meme like, you don't really believe that, Anakin, you don't really believe that. And it shows us, okay, what Sabe's whole shtick the whole time was to make sure is Padme's legacy of freedom and equality and genuine truth telling throughout the galaxy and respect for others, is that intact and is that safe? Not for the sake of any kind of vain thing, but because Padme was this genuine bright light in the galaxy that Sabe remembers, that Vader, Anakin comes to remember, right, through Luke, but even in a way, maybe through Leia. You have a twin sister. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me, but at the end, you tell your sister you were right. And you're right about the light being in Anakin. Of course, we see chronologically at Padme's death. There's good in him. I know it. That Leia. So with Sabe, yes, that Leia will be all right. That the galaxy will be all right in Leia's hands because she is going to take the reins one day. Yes, Mon Mothma becomes the chancellor and whatnot. But it's the same tension that does come up within Leia in Bloodline, right? And the political fallout of that being revealed. But to say, Leia is there for the good of the galaxy, despite Vader's legacy, but also, we see with the Resistance, she's able to take charge because of Anakin's, what she's received. I mean, of course, what she's developed on her own as her own person. But Star Wars always does play with these genetic lines, right? I mean, that's the whole thing with Luke. With Leia, yeah, it plays with this genetic line of Anakin taking charge and taking the fight to evil. He becomes the evil. Leia is ultimately able to, with the rebellion, to transition with the New Republic and let Mon Mothma really be the one to have with the experience to organize that. We don't fully have the story of what happened in between, but then fast forward to the First Order and the Resistance, and Leia is able to have the courage, the thing that Sabe maybe couldn't do. Leia is able to do. She is able to break with the New Republic, more or less, and take on the First Order and be that enclave of light in the galaxy. At its darkest, at its darkest in The Last Jedi. So, that to me is Sabe finding that out and discovering that and hoping for that. And again, Sabe's still alive. She can be part of things now too. So, yeah. That's, again, I did really love that. I mentioned it off the top, but yeah, I definitely, that to me, again, the children of Padme is what this book is really about. And I thought that was effective. Again, as a Darth Vader comic, that is what you need going into Return of the Jedi. And so I'm here for it.
Yeah, we have Nick Chosen, 1. So Palpatine is still more powerful than Vader, even with his staff and other weapons. So here's my analysis of all that. So time and time again, we see whenever the Emperor goes up against Vader, He's just more powerful. I mean, a couple things here.
Yeah.
Just Anakin never had reached his full potential because he was badly injured where he has to wear the suit. So he's automatically diminished in his power ranking compared to Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the idea that you can give Vader the most powerful weapons. He can be overcharged with whatever these storm capsule things were from the planet's energy itself, and he still can't beat the Emperor. The only reason why he beat the Emperor is because the Emperor became weak at this one point, and he was able to take advantage because he was killing Luke, and he was just so enthralled with his hatred and all this stuff that the only way Vader would ever be able to kill him was essentially backstabbing him.
Yeah,
and that was it. And he still died because of it, because the electricity of the lightning killed him in the end. So the way that they show that, Palpatine has always been superior in a head-on battle. Vader had to do a cheap shot on him, essentially, to get the win.
And also, again, I think that staff and shield thing, that's not a sign of strength. That's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of, this is all I've got right now. I'm going to overcompensating. Palpatine, you only see in the entire saga, you only see him use a lightsaber once. You only see him like fight once like that. Everything for him is his mastery of the dark side. And his mastery of the dark side and his ability to anticipate and be steps ahead of everybody. And like you're saying, it's when he's so fixated on eradicating the Jedi, that and Luke representing the resurgence of the Jedi, that he's blind to the return of the Jedi happening right next to him. And I mean, this is Joel's point. Vader can never defeat Palpatine. It's only Anakin who can. Light, darkness can't comprehend darkness. Only light can. So, it's symbolic. It's symbolically drawn here in this comic, and through the story, how Vader is just constantly weakened and crippled, inability to, or just weakened and unable to really fight back. I'm always, he claims he is, and to everyone else, he's like, I'm always ready. I'm the only one who's ready. Luke wasn't ready. Sabe wasn't ready, or whoever. And then, at the end of the day, only Palpatine's ready until he isn't in Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah. Getting into the final chapter, I thought this was really nice too. This final chapter is called Phantoms, and it's this really nice idea about Wald and Kitster harkening back to where it started, the beginning, as the documentary, the good documentary, The Phantom Menace, of just them harkening back to like, oh yeah, Anakin, and they use, it's cool because they use the money that they got from selling these power crystals, for lack of a better term, on Tatooine to free slaves. And some of the slaves they ran into some old friends that were all there with the pod race in the Phantom Menace, like, as Anakin is fixing the pod racer and all this sort of thing. And it was just a great moment of them just all reminiscing about Anakin.
Yeah.
And little did Kitster and Wald know that Vader actually is Anakin. They didn't know that. But it was so cool to see that. And then Ochi coming in and just like wrecking this people that were going to rob him. Yeah. And then he reports back to Vader. But it was a really cool way of really tying the character of Anakin Skywalker in right at the end. So I really appreciated that. That was something I didn't know I wanted as much as I did.
Yeah, Phantom Menace is a 25 party, but one that fits organically within this book, right? I mean, Kitster and Wald, they're introduced as, kind of randomly as an example of a way of reminding Vader of his past, but oddly enough, and that's the thing, is Vader keeps accidentally saving their lives, keeps accidentally being the hero a little bit, and I think they don't know Anakin is Vader, but I think they have a sense in that whenever Vader saves their lives, then they start to remember Anakin. They start to wish he was there. Imagine they start saying, imagine this was Anakin saving us instead of Vader. So there's that level of, again, a remembrance. These other characters, if Vader is trying to forget, these other characters won't let it go. And it really fills this out because on screen we only have Padme and we only have Luke, and no one else believes it. No one else, Leia is Vader. You got to go kill him. Can't, in Return of the Jedi, and then is horrified at the thought that Vader is his father. Vader is Luke's father. Just fills this out a little more. Yes, Sabe, who represents Padme, and Kitster and Wald, who represent Anakin's past as well. More characters who believe that there's good in him, that there's light in him, even when they don't know it. And that's one of the things comics do well, is they build out this universe and build out this little character moment. Almost, I'm going to be a little esoteric here, putting that energy into the galaxy, putting that energy back into the galaxy, and saying, Luke is not alone in approaching Vader, and he can maybe even know this or feel this or sense this, that he's not alone, even if he's physically by himself, on that bridge on Endor. He has the will of the Force behind him, and that's what these other characters are tapping into, and able to say, midi-chlorian count, whatever, Force binds everybody. That again underscores just how the galactic climactic moment that the Death Star confrontation is, because all is, Palpatine says, all is I will it, everything's part of my plan. No, all is as the Force wills it. And again, the lighter tone of this comic really bringing that up. Palpatine earlier on, one moment I wanted to mention, I forgot, oh Vader, you cared so much. Anakin, you cared so much. Sabe says this, and Palpatine counters, you left Sabe to die, and you left Shmi, your mother, to die, and what about all these, the Tuskens and Obi-Wan on the Death Star? Again, this brings this back to say, no, Anakin always cared. Anakin really cared, and cared for Padme, cared for his friends. That even at the end, that's the thing. I mean, even to say don't bother going to take these guys out. His pretext is Anakin's dead, but he's just saying that. I mean, there's got to be this macho projection that also goes on that Palpatine can see right through. Again, in Return of the Jedi, you sure was the conflict. Even the way it's paced, don't bother. Anakin Skywalker is dead. He's looking down. Again, he doesn't even believe it anymore fully, and so it really brings this right up to the edge of this film that we've had since 1983. But Greg Pak really plotting all that out and bringing it forward to the conflict that Luke finally breaks completely open, with the helmet coming off and everything. So
oh yeah, good stuff really puts a nice cap on everything.
Yeah, it is. You folks have any more questions? Do you have any last thoughts?
Let's see. Yeah, no. So the overall fantastic 50 issues.
Yeah.
We had a question from Joel. Yeah, we're gonna do a whole episode just on everything with the 2020 comics. So save that. We're gonna get into that's a whole another hour episode plus probably. We'll save it to next week because spoiler alert, we only have the Ahsoka adaptation, I believe, right, Matthew?
Yeah. So let me say, so next week, just Ahsoka 3, so we're not going to do that. Looking back on last 4.5 years of comics.
Yeah, we're going to talk about our favorite arcs, our favorite moments, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and just try and even so where the characters come from to where they go, even where they come from, where they go. Cotton Eye Joe. There you go. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm gonna say bringing in bounty hunters and Dr. Aphra and the whole crossover events, and yeah, it's gonna be long and sprawling, but I think we'll try and hit the themes in good tractor beam fashion. There you go.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. No, I think that's it. I think we did. Do you have any last thoughts on Vader number 50?
Greg Pak, you did a great job. Greg Pak and team. I'm down for you to write more Star Wars comics. I mean, that's just like the lowest kind of praise. No, really. I really thought he did a great job with tackling Vader, which is not an easy feat by any means. This is a guy that doesn't even have emotion on his face. You have to.
True.
It's all hidden behind a mask.
Yeah.
And even in this issue, which was cool, like when the glass gets shattered from his eye, and that's when he's like becoming like a subservient, to Palpatine. You could see just the emotion from his eyeball. Like he's like looking down. It's like, oh yeah, he's in trouble. He's not the big dog on campus like he thought he was. Here we go again. Like that. So to Greg to thread in a lot of the really cool Anakin elements into this original trilogy character with all these like little flashbacks and characters from the past returning to bounce the character stuff off him was really neat.
Yeah. So this issue, it cements this whole run as of a piece with the Gillen and Soul runs, which is saying something because Gillen and Soul runs, you know how I feel about the Charles Soul run. This one's up there, especially because it is distinct. It is unique. It does end on this lighter note. It has more about Attack of the Clones and Sabe and Ochi coming in and going, everything looking ahead to Exegol. It really brings the character from, almost the dejection at Bespin, from Luke at Bespin, to this longing to come back to Luke and longing to come back to Anakin at the end that we see in Return of the Jedi. So yeah, really, again, all three, we've been, the Force has blessed us with 3 spectacular Darth Vader runs that really, I'd say, carried the comics in a large part, not entirely, but in large part over the last 9 years. This one, as the longest one, really solid, really tight for the most part. I remember some parts kind of in the middle being like, okay, we can move ahead, we can move this along, biding time for the crossover events, but overall, diving in a fresh take on my favorite question in Star Wars is, how is the relationship between Anakin and Vader? And so, again, congrats to Greg Pak. I echo that. He can write any Star Wars he wants. I will read it. I will eat it up, except if it's a straight adaptation of a story, of a script. But other than that, unless it's an Acolyte adaptation, then I'll still probably read that because I'm still salty. But yeah, Greg, definitely Marvel, Lucasfilm, you got a good one on your hands. So yeah, whatever. I know I'm guessing he might want to break 2, but whatever we see of these characters in, like you're saying, in the Battle of Jakku and going forward, we know we're seeing the Vader mask going forward. So still, yeah, this is the end for Vader in the timeline.
Yeah,
the Jedi. But
that's the crazy thing, right? So we're not going to get these epic Vader comics anymore because we're going to get miniseries, I'm sure, but like they don't really have room for ongoings because we did the one in between Revenge of the Sith, we did the one in between the original trilogy, both sides of that. So there's really not much more room there. So we're going to get miniseries until the end of time, but I think this closes the book on anything that's like 25 issue plus,
Yeah, we definitely got the bulk of it. What I mean though is there's still room for his legacy to loom large, as it does even into the sequel trilogy with Kylo Ren. But in the immediate aftermath of his death, the impact of that on all of these characters that have been built up Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. If not in Battle of Jakku, I don't know if the solicits have shown anyone from there. Luke and Leia don't count. They're in the ongoings. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sly Moore and Ochi and characters from the films that really got built up in these comics that will continue, that their character arcs and growth will continue in these comics. So looking forward to that. But yeah, as mentioned, before we look forward, we're gonna look back. Again, no new comic stories next week, so we're gonna I'm gonna take some time to plot this out, kind of Iron Cannon style, where the big swaths, big arcs, big themes, what are our favorite arcs of this whole darn era of comics that is now, as of today, officially over. With 2 weeks, 2 really quick turnaround, really nice quick turnaround, officially over there. So check that out. Before we do plugs, I should mention the schedule for New York Comic Con is out. Chris, you did a good job of letting me know that and reminding me of that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Publishing. I'm not salty. I'm just kind of disappointed. The Lucasfilm Publishing panel, that I have no conflict with. The comics panel, the one that the tractor room is all about, that conflicts with the Star Trek panel. So I'm gonna have a decision to make, because they're probably gonna show the premiere of Lower Decks and all that. But I really want to be in the room for whatever, if they make a major Star Wars announcement. So
it's strange, but to my knowledge, this might be the most Star Wars we've seen with publishing at a Comic-Con, because I didn't even let you know about this yet, but I just found out about it recently. There's one of those author panels where it's a umbrella, like, adaptations, but like 3 of those authors are writing Star Wars books. You got Delilah S. Dawson, you got Stephen Barnes, who's writing
Rodney Barnes.
No. There's another Barnes.
Yeah, Stephen Barnes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
he's writing Glass Abyss, and John Jackson Miller is also on that panel. 3 out of 5 people are Star Wars writers.
Yeah.
So I pretty much consider that a Star Wars panel. That's happening on Thursday. You got the Star Wars Publishing Tales from the Galaxy Far, Far Away, which is on Friday. Then you have, I'm confused. Like, they're going to seriously just have an entire panel about Dark Horse? Like, no offense to them, but like, they're going to fill that whole hour with just Dark Horse. That's where I'm confused, because it's like you have Michael Siglain on that panel. You have Dale Zolder. You have Harvey Telebal, Kevin Scott, and some other person that I don't know off the top of my head that doesn't look familiar to me.
Might just be High Republic. I don't know.
They don't mention Marvel, though, in that panel. It just specifically says Lucasfilm Publishing and Dark Horse. So you're still going to probably get Marvel at the Friday panel.
Yeah. This
is where it's very weird. Very, very weird. If you're going to just call it a High Republic panel, if that's what it's going to be.
Too bad. I don't want to miss that one either. So
yeah. No. But like, even at the Friday panel, some of the panels at Comic-Con have the entire guest list. The one on Friday has nobody, no moderator or nobody on there. No, it just says everything from High Republic to the OT to the sequel trilogy. That's all we know.
Fair enough. I got to give a closer look at it. I admit I was only glancing on kind of what you sent me, but either way, all that to say is we will be there. To reiterate, we will be there. We will definitely do just like we did last year. We'll sort out post-panel reactions, news reactions on the ground, especially when it comes to comics and novels. But everything in terms of Star Wars at New York Comic Con, we'll be on the ball, whether or not I'm in the room or I'm watching a Star Trek. We'll have it there on right here on the Underworld YouTube channel, especially, as well as Iron Cannon socials, possibly Underworld socials as well. And of course, your Outer Rim transmissions or Star Raptor, your personal. So you will definitely be able to, spread the net of the coverage around there. So keep it locked, keep it tuned, stay tuned. It's a month from now, and I'm already excited. I've already planned my trip on Wednesday to pick up my badge
Oh,
on the High Line
oh no.
and hang out. Oh, you're frozen too. Am I frozen?
We're
We're
good
good.
now.
We're good. We're good. Just to say I'm really excited to plan out my badge and go on the High Line, and then we're gonna go to one day we're gonna go to the Alamo and check out Brooklyn. I'm gonna check out Astoria. I'm stoked. I'm happy. But there's actually, on that note, random thought. In Queens, there's the Museum of the Moving Image, and there's a Frank Oz exhibit that has a bit about
Really?
Yoda too. So that's in Astoria, so where I'm staying. So I'll
Yeah, if any of you have not gotten tickets to New York Comic Con, I think they might have Thursday available. And the oddest part about it all is Thursday looks exceptionally strong with their programming. They are front loading a lot of their higher class things. We're getting a Penguin panel at 11 a.m. to start off the whole weekend with Colin Farrell. We're getting Dune there. We're getting something, a new film with 11 from Stranger Things and Chris Pratt and the Russo brothers.
Yeah,
this is like crazy. And if you look at the other days, we have a Lord of the Rings War for Rohirrim panel. We are having a DC is kicking things off with their new universe with James Gunn himself, the leader of the whole thing, showing off Creature Commandos. We're getting a House of the Dragons panel with Matt freaking Smith. It is seriously a stellar year, and I looked, and there's not even every room has every panel announced because there's gaps in the time. So strikes sucked last year, obviously, because there was not much panels, but we had a lot of fun. But this is the actual convention that I was always talking to you about, where it's like, I'm looking at the schedule right now, and it's not even finalized, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know if I'm going to have time to really do much else but be in these rooms the whole time, because there's so much cool stuff to just watch.
You spend less on merch. Yeah, New York Comic Con. The more we hear about it, the more. So, at its height. Sounds what you're saying. It sounds like it's going to be the convention at its height. One that probably, wouldn't necessarily challenge San Diego in terms of importance, but for Marvel, but it's getting there. It seems like it's.
Well, I don't even think Marvel really would have much to show at this point, as far as like series. Yeah, they could show one of the movies, but they've never done that before. But yeah.
So, if you're going to New York Comic Con, you don't bite. Come say hi. Let us know what you think about the panels and what the reveals, especially about Star Wars. But we're happy to chat about whatever. But yeah, until then, Chris, another great episode. Thanks for guiding through the Vader comic, because my thoughts were all scrambled. So, all good there. Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me over on youtube.com/StarRaptor is my primary place to post content. I will be talking about these very comics. If you want a very brief synopsis of 10 minutes or less, that's where you can go for that. Other than that, as I said, Outer Rim Transmission, we're talking about Lego Star Wars, Skywalker Saga. I have that podcast to talk about the broader Star Wars news and our thoughts on just general things that come up in the fandom. And I'm on Twitter talking about things like New York Comic Con, posting panels and saying, oh, this is going to be cool to check out. And, things with games, a lot more games. Apparently there's going to be a Red Dead Redemption 2 panel, which is just insane to me because that game is one of the best of all time. So this is what I mean. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter. So there you go.
You can find me on Instagram and Threads at MNEUG1138. Instagram, Threads, and Twitter at IonCannonPod, EYEONCANONPOD. And then I'm gonna try and sort out for personal Twitter, NEUG485. If you like food, if you like chicken, if you like ice cream in your feed, at beaches.foodie, FOODIE. Gonna sort of, I'll let you all know where my main Star Wars posting will be for New York Comic Con. I'm thinking a lot of stuff. I like what Ben and I are chatting about, using the main Underworld account for general Star Wars stuff, and then maybe for paper canon stuff at Ion Cannon Pod. So keep that locked. And then Star Trek stuff will be MNEG 1138. So check that out. I'm definitely looking forward to everything there in a month. But until then, we can still got to look back. Again, we look forward, but next week we're looking back. So please do. Let's see if I can find this. Where's this thing? There it is. Do go to your local comic book shop to pick up these comics. Pick up the Kamenkoli puzzle variant. Really exciting. Really cool link between the ongoing the Vader. Support local comic book shops. Yeah, you can get them on digital, but do. But yeah, next week we're looking back on this era of comics that you can get all on digital, and there are omnibuses that are coming out, and collected editions as well as single issues. So it's gonna be a fun conversation. Gonna be a wide ranging conversation, I think, and hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoy coming back. I should also say Ion Cannon Pod Monday 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We this past week we talked about the relative weight of Star Wars stories. Next week we're kind of speculating and projecting what different options of what the next major publishing initiative might be. I doubt we'll hear anything about that on New York Comic Con, but you never know. But we're gonna check it out. Just give some options, give some ideas. But no new comics next week. So enjoy reading High Republic novels. Tears of the Nameless.
Oh yeah.
So
it's gonna be fantastic.
By Guy Reith Silas. So definitely check that out. Yes, but I think that's good enough. I've talked enough. I've talked enough tonight. Until then, happy reading.